but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through the presentation so that we can capture the recording and post the recording, and that way we can. Oh, there's another student. Excellent. So we can capture the recording and then post it, and then we can continue to advertise the programs to students, and they can view the recording. So for the couple of students that are here, welcome. This is a presentation on the opportunities for Nevada NASA Space Grant, both the undergraduate scholarship program and the graduate student fellowship program. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to, as briefly as I can, I'm going to go over the solicitations for both of those programs, starting with our website and how you find the solicitation, and then we'll actually look at the solicitation documents, and I'll sort of briefly walk through them, pointing out some of the important highlights. And then when I'm done with that, we can open it up for questions. You can either just unmute your mic and fire away, since there aren't very many of us here, or you can put a question in the chat. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to try to capture a recording, as I just said, and post it on the website so that students who couldn't be here could still review this information. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I should let's do introductions first. So my name is Eric Wilcox. I am a research professor at the Desert Research Institute, and I am the recently appointed new director of both the Nevada NASA Space Grant and Nevada NASA EPSCoR programs, which are statewide programs for the Nevada system of higher education. And with us is my colleague Hebron from the NVSGC System Office. Do you want to introduce yourself, Hebron?
Sure, my name is Hebron Chavez. I, alongside Eric Wilcox, work the director, help to run the programs, the administrative side of the programs, both of the Space Grant and NASA EPSCoR.
And then not with us is the additional administrative support for this program, and that's Michael Lujan, and he interacts pretty frequently with the students that get funded through our program. So able to join us today, it's likely that you will end up communicating with him if you apply to our programs. So then, let me share my screen. And let's see. Okay. So this is our website. Let me know if that's not showing. This is our website. You can see the URL at the top there, or you can just Google Nevada NASA programs, or Nevada NASA EPSCoR, or Nevada NASA Space Grant. Just make sure that Nevada, I think you'd probably even just Google Nevada NASA and it would take you to this website. So this is the front page. It's got news and information about our programs. What you want to do then is click to funding opportunities in the top banner there. And right at the top there are our current opportunities for students. And the top two of those is what we're talking about today. This is the undergraduate scholarship program and the graduate research fellowship program. So I'm going to start by talking about the undergraduate scholarship program, and then I will move on and we'll talk about the graduate research opportunity fellowship as well. So, so if you click the link here underneath undergraduate scholarship program, that takes you to the page for the scholarship. And this gives you some general information about what the scholarship program is. And to briefly summarize, it is, as it says there, an opportunity designed to support independently conceived research and hands-on projects by NVSGC undergraduate students, and in STEM-related disciplines that are of interest or in some way related to the missions and goals of NASA. And we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. The eligibility is listed here as well. This is very important. According to the rules imposed on us by NASA, we can only provide scholarships and fellowships to US citizens. So you must be a US citizen. We can't accept green cards or other documentation for non-citizens. You have to be a US citizen. And you have to be in good standing. You have to be a full time student in an NSHE institution. And you have to be in good standing with the financial aid office at your institution. And we'll return to that point a little bit later. The undergraduate scholarship is $3,000, and you get to choose. And when you apply, we ask you to make this choice to receive the money over the summer and do your project as a sort of 10-week project over the summer, or $3,000 over the academic year, the 2023 to 2024 academic year. And we ask that you work on your project during the academic year and finish up by the end of the spring semester. This is the announcement of the meeting we're doing right now. And then at the bottom is the actual link for the solicitation. And if you click that link, it will open a PDF file, which has all the details of the solicitation. And actually, I'm going to switch over to that document in my PDF viewer and actually take a few minutes to walk through that document. So bear with me for a minute while I stop sharing the web page and switch to yep. So now it should be showing in no, it's showing that in Chrome. That's not what I wanted. Sorry. I want to show it in move back so that doesn't do that to me again. Maybe what I'll do is just share that screen. That's what I did last time. That's better. Okay, so here is the in Adobe Acrobat, this is the PDF file for the undergraduate scholarship program. Here's the cover page that has a lot of the information that we just talked about. And let me mention the deadline. The deadline to apply for this program is March 27 at 5 p.m. That's a Monday, and that's a hard and fast deadline. We cannot accept applications after that deadline. We have to have your application in full with all of the elements included by that deadline to accept your application for consideration. And we'll return to the submission process at the very end when we get to the end of this document. Let's scroll down a little bit. And then we use the paper-clipped attachment feature of PDF files. So that's why it's important to view this in a PDF viewer like Adobe Acrobat. And you can see on the left, I've opened up the attachments. And later on in the document, when it talks about what making your project relevant to NASA, we refer to the document that's attached here. This is a PDF document from NASA that talks about, let me just open it really quick. You just double click on it in the attachments area and it opens up. This is research priorities for NASA's mission directorates and centers. And so what you'll want to do in your application for either the scholarship or the fellowship, this applies to the graduate fellowship as well, is sort of read through this document and try to find where it describes a program or a directorate or a mission within NASA that relates to the project you're doing, and articulate in your application how your project relates to that goal or that mission within NASA. And this would be an excellent element to discuss ahead of time with your faculty mentor. Ideally, your faculty mentor can provide a lot of insight to help you sort out this kind of information. And if either you or your faculty mentor want to have follow-on discussions about that, you may feel free to reach out to us for help sorting out the relevance to NASA part. We're happy to have those conversations. So I won't go through that document. It's kind of a long document. But remember that is there in the attachments to the solicitation PDF. There's some specific information about the undergraduate scholarship program. It's available both to lower division students and upper division students. We give awards to both, depending on the basically who applies. So if only lower division, if only lower division students apply, then we give it all to lower division students. If it's half lower division and half upper division students, then we give roughly half the awards to lower division students and half to upper division students. So ideally, you're mainly competing against students that are at a similar level of education to yourself. And that gives a bit of an advantage to lower division students. They don't have to compete directly with upper division students who might have a more complete transcript. The eligibility information is there. Again, we've already talked about that. As I mentioned, your project must relate to a research priority in one of NASA's mission directorates. And again, that's the document that we just looked at that's paperclipped. And again, we're happy to support that. If you have questions about that, we've talked about most of this already. So there's a fair amount of information repeated in this document, which maybe helps make it clear. A helpful note here in the middle of, what is this? This is page 4. An excellent submission will be one that's responsive to all of the points and questions posed here in this solicitation document. An application that is articulate, succinct, and written in a form that anyone with a science or engineering technology background can understand. And 3, that demonstrates that you have a strong academic record in a STEM discipline and that the project relates to one of NASA's research goals. I wanted to emphasize the articulate, succinct part of this. This applies to all of our solicitations, whether it's the scholarship, the fellowship, or our faculty applications. We assemble a panel of faculty within Nevada to review these, and we draw broadly from our network of faculty across the institutions to do these reviews. And so it's quite likely that there will be, at best, only one person on that panel who has any expertise in the topic that your proposal is about. And it's even possible that there will be nobody on the panel who has specific expertise in the topic that you're writing about. So it's very important that when you write these documents, these application materials, that you write your narrative in a form that is understandable to anyone with a broad knowledge of science or engineering background. So without a lot of highly disciplinary content or highly disciplinary lingo that would not be in the common vernacular. Here are the description and application instructions. So this is really kind of the meat of this. This is the bottom of page 4. Students engaged in any STEM area are encouraged to apply. So again, if you're majoring in any STEM discipline, we encourage you to apply. But again, we do ask that you tie your research topic to a NASA goal, because that's what NASA expects us to fund. you must conduct your project under the guidance of a faculty member. So we don't accept applications that just come from a student with no acknowledgement from a faculty member. And when we get to the details at the bottom, there's specifications there for a letter of support from your faculty mentor. And that's an important element of your application. If you are just interested in this program, want the monetary support, but you don't have a faculty mentor, we encourage you to use the Nevada STEM Mentor Network. The website link is here in the document. This is a document that the NSHE System Office has assembled with information about faculty from across the entire Nevada system. And these are faculty who are known to the system as being willing and happy to serve as mentors for such as this. This mentor network exists to support the students. So if you want to make a connection with a professor, this is a great place to go to find a list of professors who are open to those kinds of student engagements. And you can, in fact, engage more than one faculty member. You can engage multiple faculty members, even multiple faculty members from 2 different institutions. It's perfectly acceptable. In your application, we actually request that you articulate a research project. This has to be a hands-on, what we call an authentic, that means a real project, hands-on project in a NASA relevant research topic that is an authentic experience for the student, for you, that again relates to NASA's interests. And we'll describe the details of how you make that argument in a moment. Here's a note to be sure to read these directions carefully. And then an important note here, which I think is repeated in several places in this. These awards go through the financial aid office at your home institution, and your awarding or the awarding of these funds to you will affect your eligibility for other forms of financial aid and student loans according to the calculations that your financial aid office does, and the rules and laws around financial aid. So we highly encourage students who are applying to either the scholarship or the fellowship program to reach out to the financial aid office and understand how the monetary, to understand, first of all, if you're even eligible to receive the fellowship or the scholarship, because not every student may be even eligible to receive these funds. So you wouldn't want to waste your time applying if you're not eligible to receive the funds. And you want to make sure you get guidance from your financial aid office if receiving these funds will otherwise impact other sources of financial aid or student loans that you might have. You're welcome to reach out to us, but we're limited somewhat in our ability to answer questions, particularly about financial aid calculations. So we may end up referring you back to your financial aid office, but do feel free to reach out to us for any questions. Again, you must be a citizen. We do also require reporting. So this appears in several places here as well. One of the things that we do is longitudinal reporting. So if we fund you, you are likely to be contacted later on for some information about where you are and how your education and career track was impacted by these space grant funds. We ask that you respond to that in a timely manner. It's extremely valuable for us to demonstrate to NASA the value of bringing these funds into Nevada if we can point to your success after receiving one of these awards as a positive outcome of these awards being present in the state of Nevada. So this kind of longitudinal reporting is incredibly important to us. We'll also ask if you are selected for an award through the scholarship program or the fellowship program, we'll ask you for a headshot or a photo of you in a lab or out in the field conducting some research, and we'll ask you to sign a media release form. And again, this allows us to help build a story about how these funds are helpful to you as the students and help to advance both the goals of NASA and the goals of STEM education and development in the state of Nevada. And finally, a note here, number 4, we strongly encourage women and members of underrepresented groups and those who are first generation, excuse me for making that jump around, and those who are first in the generation in their family to attend college or in a geographically isolated region. Those kinds of students are strongly and especially encouraged to apply. Application instructions. This is the details. Again, there's a note here to reach out to your financial aid office. So here are the specific instructions. At the very top of the instructions, it says here, if you do not receive a confirmation after you've submitted your application from Michael Lujan, if you do not receive that confirmation, please reach out to him to verify that your application was received. And for this reason, we do encourage students and actually applicants to all of our programs to apply early. Don't wait until 5 p.m. on the deadline because we can't, if there's some kind of problem and your application was not received and it's past the end of the deadline, we cannot accept another application. So we have to cut it off at the deadline in order to have a fair competition. So we encourage you to finish your application early enough that you can submit it in full and then check with Michael to make sure that it was all received. And if there was any kind of hiccup or problem in the submission or an element that didn't come through, then there's time for Michael to alert you to that and you can correct it. The online application is at this link. It's here in the PDF file, and it's also on the website where I showed at the start of this presentation. And then here's what you're going to fill out a form on that application site, I believe, and then you are going to upload a single PDF file that contains the following elements 2 through 7 here, I believe it is. Yes. So let me briefly go through these items. The main item is a project description. So this is the actual project that you are proposing to do during the period of performance for which you are being awarded the $3,000 scholarship. These are the elements of that project description. The project description is limited to 2 pages. That's 2 pages with 1-inch margins and a 12-point font. So don't use a microscopic font or really narrow margins in order to add more words. That would be non-compliant. Please follow these rules. Again, limited to 2 pages. Your project needs a title, a very brief abstract, 50 to 100 words, an introduction section, which would be a good place to put both background about the specific project, but also the relevance of why your project, how it relates to the NASA Mission Directorate research priorities that we already talked about. What the objectives of the research project, what is the actual, are you testing a hypothesis? If so, what's that hypothesis? Or if you're trying to answer a research question, then state clearly what that research question is. And then the plan for the work. So how are you going to assess that hypothesis, or how are you going to answer that research question? Be specific as you can within the page limit in terms of the methods and tasks that you're going to complete. Include a timetable. So you have if it's the summertime, you have a 10-week period to complete the work. If it's during the school year, you have basically September to May or August, late August to May to complete your project. So please include a timeline with some milestones so that reviewers can understand the steps and how quickly you expect to move through the steps of the project towards the end. And then we ask that you report on the results. We ask that there be a presentation or maybe a class report, or in rare cases for the scholarship, this is maybe more applicable to the fellowship, but even a journal publication would be a fantastic outcome for either the scholarship or the fellowship. But a simple presentation is certainly strong enough. And then references and citations do not count towards the 2-page limit, so feel free to cite the literature. We ask that you include transcripts. We will accept unofficial PDF scans or downloads of unofficial transcripts are sufficient. We ask that you construct your own CV, and there's a link here to a CV builder that we ask you to follow that will walk you through the specific information we want to know about you in your CV. It's like a resume, except what we call an academic resume, like a CV. And then very important, an endorsement letter. For the scholarship, you must have at least one endorsement letter included with your application from the supervising faculty mentor. And that faculty mentor must articulate that they approve of you submitting this research project plan, that they agree to be your mentor for the research project, and they have to articulate the level of involvement in helping you or in overseeing the project that you are doing. The other thing that we ask is that all of the project description that I described above, we ask that these project descriptions be written by the student themselves, and this applies to both the scholarship and the fellowship. The design of the project and the science questions or the hypothesis and the goals and what kind of steps it takes to do that, the design of the project can be determined collaboratively between the student and the mentor. In fact, we encourage that. We expect for these programs that the student will need support from the faculty member to design a strong and realistic research project. However, the actual writing of the project description in the application, we ask that that be done by the student. It can be read over and critiqued by the faculty member, but not written by the faculty member. That's the key point. And then we also ask for a statement of interest from the student. This must be no more than 1 page. Again, that 1-inch margin, 12-point. And this is a chance for you to introduce yourself to the panel that's going to review all the applications and choose the awardees. And we want you to be very specific about describing your interest in the STEM-related, in a STEM-related career. And if that STEM-related career is something that relates closely to a NASA mission directorate activity, we ask that you articulate that. So if you're particularly interested in an aerospace topic or in an earth science type topic or a space science topic or a space technology topic, anything that's clearly within the NASA realm as articulated in the attached document, be sure to articulate that because that will be valuable information for the review panel. Describe your technical and educational experiences and how they have prepared you to do the work that you're proposing to do. Any extracurricular activities that demonstrate additional skills or leadership activities that you've been involved in are good to mention, and how you anticipate that the receipt of the scholarship will impact your future career goals. As I said, we'll assemble a panel of faculty to review these from across the Nevada system of higher education. They will evaluate against these criteria here. the quality and feasibility of the research plan, how relevant it is to a NASA mission directorate research priority, the motivation and interest in a STEM career, in particular a NASA relevant STEM career as articulated in that statement of interest as we just described, and the mentor endorsement letter. So it must be clear in the faculty members' endorsement letter that they are supporting this project and they will be mentoring and guiding you through the project execution. If that doesn't come across clearly, that will hinder your application. We expect to make announcements in May about the selections, and the contact information for myself, for Hebron, and for Michael are all here at the end of the document. We strongly encourage you, if you have any questions at all about how to apply, to reach out to us. And if we can answer the question, we, like for example, if it's a question that we have to refer you to financial aid to answer, we will help refer you to the right place to get the answer that you need. So that is the end of the scholarship. Let me quickly move over to the fellowship, the graduate fellowship program, and go through that before I open it up to questions. It's a very similar document, so I'm going to go through this a little bit faster because a lot of the elements relate. It's only some of the details that are different. One of the details that's different is the deadline. The graduate fellowship program deadline is 1 week earlier than the scholarship deadline. So Monday, March 20, again at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We cannot accept late applications. So if you're a graduate student applying for the graduate fellowship, please be sure to meet that deadline. Eligibility is similar. We are only empowered by NASA to give these fellowship awards to U.S. citizens who are full-time graduate students enrolled in a STEM graduate program in one of the Nevada System of Higher Education campuses. As with the scholarship, you must be supervised by a Nevada System of Higher Education faculty mentor in the conduct of your graduate project that you propose for the fellowship program. And then an important note here, if you are a previous recipient of one of our graduate fellowships, you may apply again, but we do, as a matter of policy, give priority to new applicants as a way of increasing the numbers of students that can benefit from the limited funds that we get for scholarships and fellowships in the state of Nevada. So we do give priority to those students who are applying for the first time, or students who have not yet received an award. Whether or not you've applied in the past isn't relevant, but if you have received an award in the past, we will give preference to those who have not received an award. And there have only been a couple of years in recent history where we've had so few applicants that we were able to give a renewal award to a previously awarded student. So keep that in mind. The same rules apply in terms of having a project that is related to the STEM, to a NASA mission directorate research priority. So the same document is attached as an attachment to the solicitation PDF document for the graduate fellowship program. It's there. The amount of the graduate fellowship is different than the undergraduate scholarship. It is $20,000 per academic year, usually distributed in $10,000 allotments in each semester, I believe. Is that always the case, Hebron? I don't want to state it incorrectly, but
I'm sorry?
Is it always the case that we give the award in the form of $10,000 in the fall and then another $10,000 in the spring? Yes,
that is also true for the scholarships. They're also split in half. It's $1,500 and $1,500.
Oh, okay.
If there's a special situation then we can deal with it on a student-by-student basis. If, for example, the student can only receive a certain amount one semester versus another one, we can sort of talk about that in individual cases, but most of the time, everyone receives it half and half.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And an important point for the graduate students is that receiving this fellowship amount does, again, affect your financial aid eligibility according to the rules in the financial aid office at your home institution. And so you want to consult with the financial aid office about how this impacts your ability to receive funding through other means. However, we do understand that the fellowship amount is less than a full graduate research assistantship in many cases. And so we have been working in recent years with the leadership at the two universities to allow for students who are awarded the graduate fellowship to, in addition to the fellowship dollars, also receive a partial graduate research assistantship so that they can, so that the combination of those two is comparable to what students on a full graduate research assistantship are likely to receive. And that can be done within the rules of your financial aid office. So again, we ask that you go and talk to your financial aid office to understand how the specific rules apply in your case. Let me just see what else is here that is different. We haven't already talked about. Let me just talk about the general information for the fellowship program. The fellowship is a program designed to support and reward Nevada students for their achievements in academic endeavors related to NASA missions and science goals. That is sort of the purpose of this. The eligibility we've already been over. Similar to the scholarship, we ask that you agree to provide all the reporting, including the longitudinal reporting that you may be asked to follow up on after your award period in terms of how you were personally impacted by receiving the award. You will very likely be invited to prepare and present a poster at our statewide meeting. We do a statewide meeting in the spring. It alternates between the North and the South. We usually do a poster competition as well, which is handled virtually. And so we will, in most cases, encourage students to participate in that poster competition. This is a great way for us to, well, basically for the student to get an opportunity to present their work, and also a great way for faculty from around and other students from around the state to see what you've been doing with the funds and to learn what kind of NASA-related work is going on in the state. As with the scholarship, we expect you to provide us with a photo, a headshot, or a photo of you conducting research that we can use, and a media release form so we can use that image to help promote these programs. An important thing that we do is we go to Washington, D.C. every year and tell Congress about all the great work that our students are doing with these funds, and that helps our legislators understand why it's important for them to direct these funds to Nevada for this purpose. So your supplying this information to us is extremely valuable for that as well. Again, women, members of underrepresented groups, as with the scholarship, are encouraged to apply. Application process is the same. Again, there's a link here. The link, you fill out a form and upload a PDF file. Again, we encourage you to get it done early so that if it's incomplete or elements don't transmit or there's some kind of hiccup, we can correct it before the deadline. The research proposal or application document is relatively similar to the scholarship. The research proposal itself is more detailed for the graduate fellowship. It's 4 pages rather than 2 pages. It has more or less the same elements listed here, A through F. These are essentially the same elements as in the undergraduate scholarship award. However, for the graduate students, we request 4 pages, which allows you some more room for some more technical detail about how you're going to carry out your project. Obviously, we expect graduate students, in most cases, to be proposing a project that's a little bit more substantial or ambitious than what undergraduates are likely to propose to do. That's why there's a little bit more room there. But the same rule applies here. The panel that's going to be reviewing your application may not include anybody who has any expertise in your specific graduate topic area or that of your faculty mentor. So very important that you write your document in a way that is broadly understandable to faculty members with a general science or engineering background. So please shy away from highly disciplinary lingo in your description and try to use generalized language that we can all understand, or offer generalized definitions for disciplinary elements that are essential to describing your project. For the fellowship, underlined here, we do require those who receive a fellowship to complete at least 1 publication or presentation that is either published, presented, or at least submitted for publication or presentation prior to the end of the fellowship period. References and citations, again, are required. There's a typo here. Citations are not included in the 2-page project description. It should say 4-page project description. So I think that's language from the scholarship solicitation that we need to correct. So Hebron will make a note of that. But the important point here is your references and citations do not count towards the 4-page limit of your technical document. So feel free to cite the literature. Again, we ask for transcripts, both undergraduate and graduate transcripts for our graduate fellowship applicants. Again, we will accept unofficial PDF transcripts. Letters of endorsement, 2 or 3 letters of endorsement. We expect for the fellowship application, 1 of those letters should be from the faculty mentor, and like with the scholarship, we want that letter to articulate that the mentor approves of the project description and agrees to oversee and mentor the student in the conduct of the project. And the letter should clearly articulate the role and level of involvement of that faculty member in mentoring the student through the project. All letters must be received by the deadline. We ask that you include the letters with your application packet. However, some faculty would prefer to submit letters directly to us. This applies for the scholarship and the fellowship, I believe, and I didn't mention this before. There is the ability for faculty members to send us letters directly if they don't want to send the letter to the student to include in their application. And there's even a portal there on the website where the faculty member can upload the letter, or they can send it to us by email. Be sure for both the scholarship and the fellowship, be sure that you provide all of these instructions to your referees, the faculty members writing these letters. Be sure to send them all of these detailed instructions so that they are aware of these obligations and that they will be sure to write a letter that meets these requirements that's very important for your application. And then again, a CV, biographical sketch for the student, and similar statement of interest that is, again, no more than 1 page that we ask the fellowship applicants to submit. The same review criteria are apply here as the undergraduate scholarship. We will assemble again a panel of faculty to review these according to the criteria listed here. And the same helpful note here about what the qualities of a good submission. I believe these are the same in this fellowship document as they are in the scholarship document. And then some of this information is actually repeated again here. We expect to review the scholarships by late April and announce the awardees. And then again, our contact information is there. So that is all of the information that I need to go over. At this point, I'm open to taking questions. You can either just go ahead. There's 2 students here, so if you have a question, feel free to unmic your microphone and fire away, or if you want to type it in the chat. I'm going to stop the sharing here so that I don't have the chat open. So I'm going to be here for another few minutes if there are any questions. If there are not questions, we'll end the meeting. And again, our contact information is there in all the solicitation documents. It's on the website. It's everywhere. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot us an email. We're happy to take questions or refer you to, for example, your financial aid office if we can't answer the question. Last call.
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Zahir.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. If that's it, then I'm going to end the meeting. Hebron, why don't you stop the recording so that we're sure we captured the recording.
Like, looks like it was automatically started by Michael. I don't think I can stop
okay.
it, but
Oh, really?
it should stop automatically and just load up onto his.
All right, good. All right, well, thanks again. Thanks for attending. And thank you, Hebron, for your help and support.